Hello, my name is Samye. I'm the abbot of Kagyu Samye Tibetan Buddhist Center in Europe. It is the first Tibetan Buddhist Center in United Kingdom or Europe, and this is our 50th anniversary, and we are very, very devoted to 17th Karmapa, which is lineage. Our big monastery is up in Scotland, which is known almost all over the world. This is our branch, and I felt very happy to actually receive His Holiness 17th Karmapa here, and the students around the world, they were so impressed, they were so pleased and happy to finally, after so many years of waiting, him coming here to give us blessing and help us to go in the most peaceful and most, we call, effective way of leading a life with a lot of tolerance and compassion and caring to other human beings.
We have been so fortunate now to have His Holiness 17th Dzong Karmapa Urgently Dorje visiting here in London, and that is his first UK visit, historic visit. We had, of course, the 16th Karmapa. His Holiness the 16th Karmapa came in 1974, he came again in 1977. I myself took refuge and became a Buddhist in 1977 when His Holiness came to Samye in December 1977. So now we are overjoyed to have the 17th Karmapa finally visiting after all these years. It is a great occasion. We feel so honored and so delighted to have him visit Samye London, and of course to receive his teachings and his blessings. It felt like a huge family gathering, and when he was teaching over the weekend in Battersea, there were so many familiar faces. Even though it was maybe 2,500 people, it really felt like a big family. All these Dharma brothers and sisters coming together who have known each other for decades, some for very, very long time, some for shorter time. And now this great teacher arrived after all these years of expectation and waiting.
Rabdu Chasa Lo Duji Tekna Dunye Sanye Sanye Seki Duna Pa Ketar Shuki Inna Halu Tangje Yalwa Tange Kamwar Mise Yamka Mise Yamso Nam Yamyu Yamma Yamsu Yalwa Kungi Yunte Rabdu Jing Dewa Shipa Tangje Dagi Nedo Tamba Chengwa Tamba Samye Namdang Jupe Ducho Tang Bangme Chudang Dupe Tamba Yalwa Tega Lani Chupa Namsa Tamba Namdang Jucho Tang Cheme Kurma Vila Nyamba Kuba Kiba Pape Chogun Yalwa Tega Lani Chupa Chupa Tangnam Lame Yachewa Tega Yalwa Tangche Bayam Songbo Chupa Yalwa Guna Chata Chupa Ki Ducha Shida Timo Wangi Niduda Mada Teshi Niji Yang Vipa Dagi Diva Chichi Pa Tega Tangche Dagi Soso Sha Choju Yalwa Guna Samye Se Namye Mama Mokta Nivo Yalwa Guna Sunan Kama Yang Tega Gungi Jesu Dagi Kangnam Choju Jiten Guma Da Chanju Lemba Samye Machani Yungo Tega Dagi Tangche Da Koro Lana Mepa Korwa Kunyange Dagi Tangche Tega Yalwa Guna Bishin Dewe Kalba Shiki Yukin Shuba Yang Dagi Tembo Raja Suwa Chaute Wadan Juti Shapa Tangche Sui Rang Wishin Suwa Ewa Juke Dagi Chisapa Tangche Dagi Tangche Shingo 다들인데 런던 계속 런던 이제 계속 런던 그게 삼에 종 다들이야 도마 지금 고급 사무총 되는 아주 삼에 라마 이시에 람 되는 다는 아주 이게 런던 삼에 종 인차지 somada go boss 라마 상모
So in order to activate my microphone, I don't have to do anything because it's already on. Thank you. It is wonderful to be here at Kagyu Samye Dzong in the presence of Lama Yeshe of Kagyu Samye Ling and the boss who is in charge of Kagyu Samye Dzong itself, Lama Sangmo. I extend my greetings to all of you.
Andri Mazude Garsare in Jilomalia, the Yuan Tintam Chadi or UK, Tintam Chadi or Jazan Tintam Chabe Negolia and Tamusia or Mazupege Jagalia, Sian to do summer. Jiran Chasam Mercy in Siena, Dub Dumas and Rando. Siena Duni de Goyavin Jusana. Kutsugi Yaji Uma, Azuya, Samye Nilia, Injilunga Bodusa, Samye Nilia, Chimbimina, and this Yaji, Totsundo Yaji, create lots of casual that Zuzuro, Zuma Mosene, Zuma Mosene, in Jusana, Yadi Juzing, Den, Yaji. Tambutin Tamu Justane, Samye and Dra, the Deo Miavuchi. The gender which Tombare, the Indus Tigus and Tene, and the Ritin Tambutin, Samye, Rotuyo Mare. Yina Mazu de London, as Samye Chera, as the Samye Zonglea, Yoako Chumbadita, Samye Lebatan. Jibonoji, Tijian, Wizino to show ye. And the Hindustane, the Hindustane, and the Chuzo Kaki,
第三面领域的大的演那个确实哈给文字音大，俺大的我是第一位第三个，这根据把那么做啦，程序那么做啦，大的先给像生活的呀，俺这里像就这边别米些的，车子就切切，俺这可说让我是来熊下。가장 이 송주 남의 거리냐 다들 좀 상으로 치다 그 상으로 삼에 리스도 이나 디기 스텝 디디 시나서도 가장 디디 배우고 디디 가장 배주 마당 좀생 가야 하고 맞어 이나 다 상으로 둘이 치셔야
Of course, with this being my first trip to the United Kingdom, and Kagyu Samye Ling being the very important place that it is for the Kagyu lineage, it would have been very fitting for me to be able to visit Kagyu Samye Ling during my first visit to England. But that obviously has not been possible this time around. My situation in India is not one of full independence. It is a situation that entails a great amount of dependence upon other forces and factors. And in particular, with regard to the possibility of visiting Samye Ling, it seems that a bunch of falsehoods were fabricated and used as an excuse to assert that it wouldn't be convenient or prudent for me to visit Samye Ling during this first visit. So whatever the case may be with regard to all of that, I wasn't able to go to Samye Ling. However, I've been able to visit an important branch of Samye Ling, which is Kagyu Samye Dzong, London. Therefore, since I've been able to visit this branch of Samye Ling, I'm going to go ahead and recognize this visit to Kagyu Samye Dzong, London as a stand-in for my first visit to Kagyu Samye Ling itself. I'm very happy to be amongst all of you. All of the representatives of the various Dharma centers who are gathered here, the leaders of the centers, the directors of the centers, the monks and nuns, and all of the Sangha, as well as all of you gathered here. All of the preparations you have made for my visit and my teachings are greatly appreciated. In particular, I heard that it was the Samye Ling associated team that made all the preparations for the stage, including the throne. And you did a wonderful job, but I must say that the steps to the throne that were used at my program over the weekend were a little bit scary. The steps up to the throne today, on the other hand, were very nice, so I don't know why you didn't use them over the weekend. I would like to thank you all.
Lama 20배 코바나 보여래. 제가 나를 짝짝치네. 니니니치네. 스텝 독자디 나를 처리체 있어라. 방해하고.
Lama Yeshe is someone who has a very dark soul. So I think I've caught on to the idea now. He's doing this to give me a hard time.
다들 내 지기 아주 지 Samye 지 가르에 지 Samye 링이네래 다나 지 조바이네래 다 창로 집에 가르에 수신자들 조디 가르에 아고로 차리요래 다 아고로 치 다 회ning 아주 다 팅카시 돈 제대 충분해 다 되네 야갈에서 제래야 다지 가르에 야지 가르에 자기 공시는 신기 지 강에를 막 못해지 준비지 보나 야갈에 앞에 강에 태 나를 붙이래야 두야래 강에 태 팀 담벌라 아메리카리아 레벨 커토리아 교진지 다 대한 디디 가르에다 지기 다 퍼블릭 서비스 맞아 프라이빗 두지 마저리티 다 퍼블릭 오디언스 서비스 되지 좀 다가다 야부지 별로지 가면 쉬야를 좀 와서다 다 디제래야 아니 루브집에 아니 니즈 도자 중벌에 루브르도 공부해서 하는데 니즈 중벌에 다들 근데 루브르도 내든 데를 때네 공부해서 하라 임바데 당 아주 삼매기 삼매 나로 디지털이 요마래 이나다데 공부해서 다들 공부해서 되기 아주 지그 가지고 삼매 강아지 최소 지게를 최소 하 지부면 봐 다들 그 알로레 지 경기 첨부지 중앙을 삼정 배 나로래야 다지 뭐지기 로바 지 퓨지 아주 더 지게를 연경기 배바지기다 배 나올라 로바 친게 숙치슈는지 좀 차대요 알아 네 뉴스한다 지 공바 점도 마세 람저다 명한다 좀 무시지리야 로바 나세 다간다지 오늘 배려연계 범위 삼매기 다 공부 집에 가서라 자 신부지지 라바도 지 공부 조사회 제래야 라바도야 다디 자 전부 임바디 뭐지 되버는지 뭐지 되도 신데 말들이 차려 제자다디 최소 한 지게리 최소 하점 지고 마스에 가서 배발을 처음에 있는 다디 경계 친구지 임바지야 다 참여기 이제 통주로 용이 알았어
The central life force pillar of Samye Ling and all of its branches was Akong Rinpoche. I was able to meet with Akong Rinpoche several times while I lived in Tibet. But then after that, as I mentioned previously, after I moved to India, I encountered various challenges. And so it was difficult for Akong Rinpoche to come and see me in India, and it was difficult for me to go anywhere to meet with Akong Rinpoche. One time, during my first visit to the United States, I was able to see Akong Rinpoche briefly, but due to bizarre circumstances, that was only in the context of a public audience. I wasn't able to have any private time with Rinpoche at all. Then, of course, came the very tragic loss of Rinpoche's sudden passing. None of us could have envisioned such a thing happening. After Rinpoche passed away, it became even more evident how precious a resource he was, not only for the Dharma at large in the world, but also for the Tibetan people, including Tibetans inside Tibet. Of course, Rinpoche helped many Tibetans outside Tibet, but even inside Tibet. He lent great assistance to the Tibetan people, building monasteries, schools, hospitals, and giving resources in other ways. He became well known within Tibet and considered by all Tibetan people as a precious treasure. And even more so since he passed away. Since he has passed, it has become even more abundantly evident how much of a treasure he was to Tibetans everywhere, inside and outside of Tibet, and how great of a loss his passing represents.
And the Olia, Samye, Children, Robert, and Mutune, and Nathan Samborusia, the Tondusan, Asha Gauchos. You understand? I can't somewhere to say strange.
Nevertheless, following Rinpoche's passing, Lama Yeshe has mustered all of his energy and concentrated it into the goal of continuing Akong Rinpoche's enlightened activities and continuing to propagate his vision. And under the guidance of Lama Yeshe, all of you have assisted in this endeavor of continuing Akong Rinpoche's enlightened activities and vision. And these efforts have come along very nicely. There's a very positive environment that has developed in this way in the wake of Rinpoche's passing. And this gives me great encouragement. So I'd like to thank all of you for this.
Quran la simte wangbo yusare ta Quran lo chenbo yin ta di motu ne chikajura da mangba la simte tongzi yusare ida ta karjura da tando ine ta dezi che kuze rumbu deya ge menam yes ta and Dana sing among Balea and Motunity Ruji, see Gordy Mina, Aji Kajure Yeta, Taguan, to Shadi or it. Today that in a see Gordy, days Chikajure. Ah, someone of Chewash in the public authorities, Chaplache. It is a Kalahauto, Karesana, and Ruchi, that Desa. Very hard. I can see the Peria Chumba take it into Chuma. And that day, Tata very Chumbina Yaji Jana Shunaya Yankoran to Tatinga, Stinchina Chavare. I Java Soba Tinjagi, Chige Lumbalea Chumba Yimina. That is Lena Chore. Under the sound is this Kashre this Sawadu Chewaji. Sunjuk, Buji, Yansi Sunjuk Chewaru, this Chadi, we use that digits and then Lama Yishe, Lama Sun, argument Chiso. Kade Lama Senate, not Tibetan. Lama Kade. Kate. Watch, very bunch, very famous. No, not that one. Kate Lama. You know, Tibetan Lama Kate Lama. Today, you son and the Kuzulaya, loves her. And Kuranta Tamu Zins Yavuchuna and Jemai Council Kali Hakoyo Mores. In a Tambu process, this sound of Chegua there, Virginia and City Sunjo, Yavuchava, the cage of Richard Dosa.
The topic of Akong Rinpoche's reincarnation is a very important topic. I think Lama Yeshe has some particular worries in connection with this topic because he himself is getting a little bit advanced in years. He's around 70 years old. And in relation to that, I would like to add that I have a sincere aspiration and prayers that Lama Yeshe will live a very long life.
How much? How long?
But as he gets older and older, his attitude gets worse and worse. Mischief, Kibu, Gembu Jabanyamba. He's becoming a senior in terms of bad conduct. So I do have that aspiration that Lama Yeshe live a very long life to continue these activities that he is engaged in of sustaining Akong Rinpoche's vision and activities. With regard to the reincarnation, this is of course something that falls to me to look after, but I think it is a matter that must be dealt with at first in an environment of great confidentiality. In other words, it has to be done somewhat secretly in the beginning, I think. I don't think it would be wise or skillful to proceed with the next steps in relation to Akong Rinpoche's reincarnation in public. The reason for this is because if Akong Rinpoche takes rebirth in Tibet, then it could become a very complicated situation where the Chinese government could get involved and so forth. And perhaps it could be then easier if Akong Rinpoche were to take rebirth in a country such as India or another country outside of Tibet. But in any case, I think it's most skillful to proceed quietly with regard to the initial next steps in the search for Akong Rinpoche's reincarnation. So I discussed this matter with Lama Yeshe and with Karten Lama. And I told them that in these early stages of searching for Rinpoche's reincarnation, it has to be done in a very quiet manner, with some level of secrecy and confidentiality. And then slowly, as the process moves forward, I will let you know how things are progressing. But in the beginning stages, the next steps must be taken privately.
아니 Kagyu Samye 다디 지당기 가져다 영화가만 꾸리 주주베기 공부 시다 비전도기 다베나 계지지 베나면에 계지지네래 안다는 생각을 돼 인지로 벌이야 삼에는 좋아래 이나로야지 긴중대 수양 이제 공부 写공부 자심을 주요자 다들 무슨 긴중이 대사데 다지당기 가져래 culture some of the Rishon Tadem Chadi on Tango Shashot, Rishon Tadem Chadi San, Tigun Sendena, and it's casual. A charging the Joseph Sugu, casual concert, Sango Leati, Suguna, you had the Sango Suguna, you had a Kaharu Chadi on Yemina, Antaria, Zodi. 즉 템베 닝보루시 즉 가서 닝보세나 다도 거라 에센스 말로 따디 즉 규제샤 즉 긴류이 되지 닝보왕 거랑게 튜니 텐담베 튜니도 디 규제샤데 계셔버 차려라 드린 유산 따디 규제된다 엄마이네 지당기 라루쇼아사데 즉 미지직 즉 가서라 체질이야 미지직이야 체 타진성 말해. 다 체 타진 동반을 도착해요. 다이는 디상 뒤주디 가수에 조진의 뒤주디 요하신사래. 제 유산에 그런 아주 미진나는데 저분이 균도 쉬우지 조개에 인도산 수수 미진나는데 균도 먹고 저분이 균도 먹고 쉬우 조개에 인도산 안치 수수 미진나는데 균도 먹고 조개에 제 유산다 미지지스라고 쇼나 아디 상깔아 하고로 도가 즉 처바 제모도 그러지 개방하면 주진 다 미지지스도 산 버지 다 지버지번도 지마다 시라지란 주도 알게 야마 아디 산저분이 주도 쉬우 조에 위주산 아주 소소 미지 나말래 이주 그대지 좀 시에가 가라 하고 살아야지 드린 유산디 긴산데네 바나 테라와다 수나말래야 양지 로드 제게 체네베 로 숨싱아 로사로다 가시 아니 주베시도야 가서다지 미지시고려야지 그래도 좀 차로 근데 용되게 간다를 진짜기 간다를 가져야지야 삼모당체 근데 돈단도나 긴윤디 수아리다 계셔머를 차려야지 근데 차도 도스 나죠
나마디 가봐 일라 파트 받아보 요레스 나마나마나 파트 받아보
다지 디 라고도 시라다 요하시나 로라 다지 디 말아보자 미진나라 찬 체인지 그 다디 사베 주도 남산남산 도라
Kagyu Samye Ling is a very important part of the vision of the 16th Karmapa. So the 16th Karmapa established Karma Triyana Dharma Chakra in the United States as his seat. And in a similar way, he established Samye Ling in the United Kingdom. And he seems to have done this in connection with a vast vision he had for establishing a monastic sangha for future generations. Monasticism is, of course, a different type of culture it's different from ordinary society. It has its own culture, but this culture in turn is somewhat dependent upon the era of time that the monastic sangha is situated. So with regard to present-day monastic sanghas, I think it would be very difficult to have them be 100% in accord with the precise traditions of the monastic sangha as those traditions have been explained through the ages. But having a monastic sangha in itself, I think, is something very important, because I think that the Buddha taught that the monastic sangha is a very important part of the essence of the teachings themselves. There are very important reasons why a monastic sangha must exist. So the presence and existence of the monastic sangha lies at the very heart of the meaning of the teachings and the purpose of the teachings. Previously, the main approach to monasticism was that one considered it a lifelong commitment. And the vows that one took in order to become a monastic were considered lifelong vows, or in other words, vows that would end at the end of one's lifetime. But it seems that that might be an aspect of monasticism that was somewhat dependent upon the cultural conditions of a particular era. I think these days things are slightly different. Previously, the lives of human beings were somewhat stable and predictable in terms of their basic outward shape. But these days, people's lives change so quickly. And changes in the world also are taking place so quickly. This makes it so that I think in some cases it might be difficult to consider the notion of a lifelong commitment or a lifelong vow. So this is an area that can perhaps be examined freshly. In the Theravada tradition, there is such a thing as temporary monastic ordination, where one might make a commitment of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years or what have you, and sometimes this gradually leads the practitioner to take on a lifetime commitment to monasticism. In any case, I think this is I think that this is a topic that we can continue to reflect upon. But the main point is that the presence of some type of monastic sangha is very important.
다간다 지 규주 뭐냐면 마들 다간다 지 상가로 되지 existing 쉐외다 야부시다를 상도 디 practice 수수에기 가지고다 지 직잖아 수레 다들이 규주 진동 마들 되지 지긴도 데르스 되지 얘나 야부시다를 상도 다드네 다 망고샤 시야 때문에 소스다 내르제다 안다 제마 양결 가수에 베데 용토야 나래야 디 그게 그래 인지기다 카운슬러 서머에 되게 로니기 비자테자 로니기 비자 제가 안 로니기 나라래 파주 로조 유사다 다 이내야 다 야고 정상도 있네. 내 나왜 말해? 삼성디 아주 강에 디 비자디 강에는 뭐 임체. 그 permission 디 야선 permission 나다 하고 와. 비자를 제가 상황하다 한도 permission 고 대다다. 삼성 permission 고 네 permission 말하네. 근데 이제 좀 안 고쳐. 근데 유산 디 유산 때네 permission 라서는 안에디 다지다 가수에 야야도 연구하지. 그래서 용사에서
In sum, regardless of the amount of time that individuals commit to a monastic lifestyle, having some form of monastic sangha as a practice environment is very important. So other than that, I don't have much to say. This time around, the English consulate gave me a 2-year visa. And so it appears that I have the freedom to come and go as I please over the next 2 years.
But
unfortunately, it's not quite that simple. Usually, getting visas for any country that I want to go to is not the most challenging part. The most challenging part is getting permission from the Indian government to leave India and go to that country. So, I've been in the position of waiting for permission.
we need lots of permission. We need permission to leave. We need permission to go back. Both. Yeah.
So there's been many instances where I've had to wait for permission. But assuming that I receive permission from the Indian government, I think that it will likely be possible for me to come back again soon.
Okay. Anything?
Anybody want to ask anything? It's almost time here.
10 minutes. Nothing.
Meaning, he said like John stand up. John Messer.
Stand up. Wow, my goodness. He's ordering.
Oh yeah.
Lawyer. Oh, yeah. I need lawyer. Definitely. Okay.
He has been very devoted to Kagyu centers.
Thank you.
Ever since the people became always taking care of the legal side of Chinese people.
Thank you.
Where's Taro? Taro, where are you? Taro is a person from Belgium.
Yes, I know him. Yeah.
And he is very experienced in meditation to go there because he will be capable of introducing you to the highest level of people there. And
He's introducing old friends to me.
Like an invitation letter for Belgium.
Oh. Invitation? Bring the invitation. Yeah. Why not? Thank you. Thank you.
Spain, Barcelona,
lots of Tibetans in Belgium, but half of them is blacklist. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, yes. Thank you. Huh? Yes. Yes.
Now there's still all the retreats going on in other
Yes.
other countries. In your view, do you feel retreats is important for people to do? Because it seems like centres need to develop now many people. What's the big retreat?
I think a retreat is very important, but retreat have different types of retreat. You know, that's why I think people need to choose which type of retreat is suitable for them. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah?
Next